briefing by General McKenzie, along with joint staff representation and my policy people as well.
Yeah, we will definitely be following up on that. I mean, the issue of what we do going forward to deal with the counterterrorism threat out of South Asia is something this committee has already looked at and will continue to look at for a very long time. Mr. Turner is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I serve on both the House Armed Services Committee and Intelligence Committee. The Intelligence Committee has already been briefed from the intelligence community concerning their participation of the August 29th drone attack. General McKenzie, you've taken in front of us full responsibility for that. I have a series of information that I would like released to this committee so that we can adequately provide oversight to what occurred on August 29th. What we know from your prior statements is that you did not know who it was who was in the car, whose house it was, or who or how many people were in the house. This greatly concerns me as we look to the over-horizon claims that the administration has of its ability for counterterrorism. You did not, as your goal was stated, thwart or disrupt an imminent attack. You killed an innocent man, and yet an attack didn't happen. So there are serious questions concerning both the information that you had and the manner in which the execution occurred. So I would request that it be released to this committee and the Intelligence Committee, relevant video excerpts from the drones of August 29th, the protocols that were in place prior to this drone attack mission, the intelligence that an attack was imminent against our forces, and the approval of any of authorization to modify those protocols, including approvals for delegation of authority, including target engagement authority, who approved at the DOD and in the administration, and the data that the Secretary released to the IG. I just want to make it clear, Mr. Secretary, the fact that you have an IG investigation does not stop congressional oversight. I'll be sending you a list of all those. I'd like your consent that you're going to be providing those to us. They're certainly within the jurisdiction of our two committees.
I acknowledge, sir, and you are correct. There is a review going on of the strike.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. General Milley, with indignation in front of the House and the Senate, you have commented on the statements in the press concerning your phone conversation with your counterpart, General Lee, in China. Let's be clear, to give you some help with the indignation, those comments were in the press because that's where you put them. Now, you claim that you had information, and it's all over, that China was worried about an imminent attack. You did not tell the President, the Vice President, the White House Chief of Staff, the National Security Advisor, the Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State, the Director of National Intelligence, either of the relevant committees in the House, including the Big Eight, which you know include Intel. You didn't tell the Intelligence Committee. You didn't tell the Armed Services Committee. You report that after you took upon yourself to have this phone conversation, that you told them of the conversation heard, not that China believed that we were going to imminently attack them, which, by the way, has never been true in my lifetime. And it may be true since they believed it. That's why they're digging ICBM holes faster than they can fill them with ICBMs. But you chose instead to handle it yourself with a phone call. So, General Milley, you offered all of the concerning intelligence, and I'm going to request that you provide it to us. I would like you to provide us the relevant intelligence information that you based your belief that China was going to believe that there was an imminent attack. I also want your request for declassification of the approval that you release that information that China believed so, including your request for declassification of your conversation that you had with General Lee and any approvals. I want a transcript of your call with General Lee, and I also want any readouts, memorandums, notice of calls, or outcomes. Now, you chose to talk to reporters instead of us, and that's great. It's of great concern. No one in Congress knew that one of two of the major nuclear powers thought that they were perhaps being threatened for attack. Now, Mr. Secretary, that turns my questions to you then. Mr. Secretary, if you learn that Russia or China believes that they may be subject to an attack by the United States, as a member of the President's cabinet, do you believe that information should be handled at the cabinet level and with the President, with the National Security Advisor, the Secretary of Defense? Do you believe the chair and ranking member of Intel and the House Armed Services Committee and Foreign Affairs Committee need to know these? Or do you believe that a belief of the possibility of an attack by the United States against Russia and China is appropriately handled by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff in a phone call with his counterpart with one of those nations. Please tell me that you believe it elevates to the level that you would elevate that to the cabinet and to Congress and not just have it be subsequently told to us all by newspaper articles in the Washington Post and the New York Times, as General Milley chose to do.
Thank you, sir. Obviously, we would want to follow standard protocol, and what you described is what I would, the type of actions that I would consider taking. But General Milley, as what I heard him say yesterday, and I think again today, is that his chain of command, the Secretary of Defense at the time, was aware of the actions, and so
After. What he said yesterday is after.
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chairman.
No, that's
Milley,
not correct. What I said yesterday, today,
If I could, hold on just a second, everybody. Time has expired. Mr. Turner is very clever. He made a very direct attack as his time was expiring. I'm going to violate the rules here a little bit and let Chairman Milley respond to that direct attack, hopefully briefly, and then we'll move on to the next witness.
with respect to the intelligence, I have it right here. I'll be happy to share it with you.
Great.
I guarantee that that intelligence was disseminated in the President's PDB, the Vice President, the DNI, Director of CIA, the Secretary of Defense, the Assistant to the President for National Security Affairs, and others. That was significant, and there was a lot of it. It wasn't just a singular report. There was a lot. I'll be happy to share that with you and go over with you line by line. And it was significant, and it was concerning to the point where Secretary of Defense Esper, Admiral Davidson, and myself, along with others, had conversations about it. And I was directed by then Secretary of Defense Esper. First, he directed his Assistant Secretary of Defense for Asia-Pacific Affairs to make calls, and then me. Same thing. This is all done with oversight, and I tried to lay that out in the memoranda. I tried to lay it out in a timeline in an unclassified way that you can use it with your
And
constituents.
we're going to, I'm sorry, we're going to have to leave it at that.
I'll be happy to take it up at a later date, your convenience.
Mr. Courtney is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the